So now we have the 4 generations.
Well, let's talk about them. We haven't really defined
No, we haven't
it.
really defined
Oh, okay. Well,
I didn't know
yeah.
this was you until today.
You thought I was a baby boomer, didn't you? Yeah. Okay.
Well, the traditionalists were born before 1946. So the major event in their life that affected them was World War II. And World War II, they had to ration. Their parents probably lived through the Depression. If they didn't, their parents did. So that they got used to scrimping and saving, and there was nothing that was thrown away. There was no good reason. I remember my mom would tell me how she saved tin foil and all that. There was always a drawer full of rubber bands because you might need them someday. And so, so they were affected by that, but the positive effect they had through going through World War II is the whole country was united with a focus. Everybody worked together, and many traditionalists that I've interviewed have said that still remains their happiest memory in their life, was that unity and that connectiveness.
Closeness of the families.
All the families were close, and that people didn't talk about divorce or have divorce because you needed each other, and you just figured out how to work it out. There wasn't any, I've got to find myself, because they found themselves as soon as they landed overseas and were being shot at, and the women had children without anybody there, so they had to grow up in a hurry. They didn't have the luxury of searching. It was, you're grown up now. And so when they came back from the war, that's when the baby boom started. From 1946 to 1945, there was a jump in the baby population. It increased 20%. So that began the baby boom, and the birth rate kept increasing every year until 1964, and in 1964 the birth control pill became available for the average woman, and the year that happened, the birth rate started to decrease. So that decrease, it went down every year until 1977. So that's where you have Generation X defined. And so in 1978, that birth rate starts to increase. And what happens in 1995 is we start having these technological advances. The World Wide Web is available for the average person. It's not a government function any longer. And believe it or not, when caller ID was invented in 1995, 1996, that was a breakthrough because we actually had the ability to look at our phone and know who was calling us and decide, do we want to be interrupted? Do we want to talk to these people? So we started having a personal information age, and we started having control over our lives technologically in a way that had never happened before. So that's the major signposts that make every generation stand on its own. So that's why it's not like every 20 years there's a generation. Certain things happened to make those generations form, and then once they get to be about 10 years old or above, that's when they start having collective experiences, like I remember where I was when Pearl Harbor happened. I remember where I was when JFK was shot. I remember where I was when John Lennon died. So we had, I know where I was when 9/11 happened. But usually children don't start to have that bigger memory that other people have until they're about 10 years old. So from 10-year-old till their teens, that's when they start having a sense of there's a community and it's more than mom and dad.
Yes.
So that's okay. That's the baby. Okay, we're talking about the baby. Were you talking about the baby boomers just now, or the whole thing?
The whole thing.
Okay. Okay. So Generation X. I have a question.
Sure.
Of course, it's all about me now, right? Just kidding. Isn't that Generation X all about me kind of generation?
Well, it needs to be because your parents were probably workaholics, and you were left on your own a lot.
No.
No, she wasn't left on her own? Oh,
never.
okay. Well, then your friends probably were.
Yeah,
because she was an only child, and I think that makes a difference when you have an only child. Yeah. Because, when you have more children, they kind of take care of each other. But Deanna was an only child, so she was either, if we were not together, then her grandmother took care of her father took care of her. There was someone there.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Because a lot of latchkey kids were in that generation. They let themselves in at home. But you had a question.
No, I was going to, actually, we're going to come back. I've got some more questions about the generations. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I see that there's goals that establish those generations, and those are interesting to me. So I'm sure that our audience will be interested about that too. So you stay tuned. We'll be right back with Linda Thomas on Daily Talk.